what the first ruling that's going to come out will probably be this search suit, right? Because they had the closing arguments. The trial actually ended about 6 months ago. The judge put a lot of space in between, I think, to really understand the facts and go through all the evidence. And I think he'll be deciding in a few months. And it's a really big deal because Google pays over $20 billion a year to other companies to set Google as the default search engine. They pay Apple, they pay Mozilla, they pay the OEMs that make the Android phones. And it may be that if the judge decides those agreements are exclusionary and that they're anti-competitive, that they arise to the level of exclusionary anti-competitive conduct, he says, you can't have these, you can't enter these agreements anymore. And the ones that are hurt are really not Google, because we all know Google search. You know, we're all going to keep using Google search.
Yeah, it's a verb.
Yes, exactly.
It's the Kleenex.
People aren't jumping to switch over to Bing, at least not yet.
Matt Miller.
Maybe they will with Chat.
Does he Bing?
Yeah, because he's a big Chat GPT guy.
Oh yeah, and the Microsoft.
He's always cutting edge.
And that could change things. You know, the market could change. So, you know, that's kind of out there too, although this judge is looking backward in time, not really looking forward. They're looking at the conduct that has occurred in the last 10 years.
But in the greater scheme of things, is that a huge threat to Google? Because if it is indeed the default search engine, just because so many people are spent, you know, decades using it on their devices, on their computers, then if, you know, when you buy a new phone, Apple says, okay, which search engine would you like to be the default one? Won't people just choose Google anyway?
Well, I think that's the case, which is why the remedy is going to be really important here. This judge is going to have to get creative. And, you know, one of the things that he might do, if in fact he rules that Google's broken the law, I mean, that hasn't been determined yet. I tend to think he will, but it's very close. What he could say is, look, there's this flywheel, and you've collected so much data through scale, through so many searches, that's allowed Google search to get better. And Bing and DuckDuckGo and other potential nascent competitors out there can't get to that scale to teach the search engine to get better. So maybe what you have to do, Google, is share all that data and let others have a chance to actually become better and show what they can prove. Maybe let a nascent competitor come into the market, something like that. And in that way, there could be a threat. Right? I mean, it's not unrealistic to think with all that data that Google's amassed over the years that some other company could come in and compete.
So has Apple actually come in and maybe communicated to the judge somehow, like, whoa, 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 whoa. If you do what you could do, that's really going to hurt us. Unintended consequence, maybe. Has Apple opined on this at all?
So both Apple and Mozilla executives testified. And Apple actually, believe it or not, when they signed this agreement to get paid to set Google as the default, also agreed that they would defend it. If it ever came under attack, now if that's not a little bit suspicious or defensive, I don't know what is. But they did come in and they defended the deal. They said, look, it makes the Apple phone better. A user opens the phone, they go to Safari and they do their search and they have the best search engine, and that's better for our users. And Google's the best. And that's just the bottom line. Mozilla actually said, look, this is really going to hurt our business. We depend on the money that we get from Google. We're small. You know, Firefox is really small and we need that money. So they did testify like that.
Okay, like you said, this is not the only legal challenge facing the company. Why do the lawyers always get paid, by the way, Paul? Like, it doesn't matter what the ruling is.
By the hour.
And a lot. Yes.
I don't know, Jed, if you cover that. But I am curious where this falls in sort of the scheme of lawsuits that Google, for its part, is facing right now. Not to mention, I mean, the lawsuits facing Amazon, FTC issues facing Amazon, Apple as well.
Meta, you have FTC v. Meta, right? All of them right now are facing big monopolization suits. They have a suit coming up that challenges their ad tech business. It's not a really business that consumers generally know about because this is a business to business supply chain, right? That they kind of control, and it's about actually advertisers, digital advertisers, and publishers, the software that they use to come together to place ads, right? To find the space, to buy the space, to get the right ad to the right consumer. And Google basically owns the entire supply chain. They have dominance in many pieces of it. And it's about manipulating that to extract as much money from publishers and advertisers as they can. That's the allegation. That trial's coming up toward the end of this year. And I think that's actually kind of a bigger deal, right? Because it's in front of a jury. Now, that doesn't happen very often because the DOJ can only go in front of a jury when they're looking for a monetary remedy. They're looking for injunctive and monetary remedy because they themselves were advertisers. So they're saying, U.S. was hurt by what Google did. We were advertisers and we paid more to do that advertising because of Google's conduct. But when it goes in front of a jury, I think it's really hard for a jury to kind of parse out all the stages that have to be proven to prove an antitrust violation. This judge who is studying really hard in the Google search case is struggling. You can tell. This is hard for him. So determine that line between conduct that's anti-competitive and conduct that's just hyper-competitive is very difficult. And I think with a jury, there's probably a tendency for the DOJ just to paint the company as a big dominant bully, rather than kind of getting into those nuances, and a jury's probably going to go that direction. That's what I think. So I think those are scary cases.
All right, give us the timing on when some of these things are going to happen here, because I'm looking at the stock.
Yeah.
Stock's up 20% this year. It's up 60% over the trailing 12 months. The market's not worried about it.
Not worried.
What's the timing here of some of these?
I think on liability, a decision will probably come out on the search case in a few months, and then if that happens
okay.
in a few months, that's what I think. And if that happens, the judge is going to have a separate hearing on remedy, a separate process to determine the proper remedy. I think he'll give them a few months to get prepared for that. Experts will be testifying in that. So I'm thinking maybe a remedy comes out sometime in fourth quarter.